When we started this work in Prince George's County, it started at a time where we were evaluating our instructional practices. We were a district that had been implementing balanced literacy structures for the past 20 years. And we started to see some things explicitly happening within or not happening within our foundational skills instruction. And so this is a piece that, Andrea and I were talking about. At the same time, our state, came up with the Maryland to Read Act. And the Maryland to Read Act spoke to all of our districts to request that we basically have a screening measure in place, but not just screen students. We also had to provide supplemental instruction for those students in kindergarten through grade 3. It started with kindergarten through grade 2, and then grade 3 was added. So at this same time, we started to look at other instructional programs, because you can't start talking about screening and changing some of your practices without looking at the right or high quality instructional programming. And so we were looking at this along the same time. Shortly after, our blueprint came to be across our state. And our blueprint explicitly provides a structure to all of our Maryland districts around what is expected across our state. And one of the things that they have brought clearly in our blueprint documents is the focus around the science of reading. So that it's not just about getting the materials in hand. It's really, of course, about student performance, but also ensuring that all of our teachers are trained. And so we have been working really, really hard to provide professional development, not just for our pre-K to grade 3 teachers, but all of our stakeholders. So to start this work, one of the things that we did was to first look at bringing all of our stakeholders together from central offices across the district. When you have a structure in place for over 20 years and you're looking to make a massive shift, we know, one, that doesn't happen overnight, and two, it cannot happen with a small reading office. It needed to be a commitment across our district. So luckily, we had the support of our different departments, our special education office, our good friends over here in early childhood. We had our Office of English Development. We had our Office of Professional Development, mentor teachers, our coaches across the district, all were starting to deepen their knowledge around the research. And we kicked off a very large cohort of educators immersing themselves in the science of reading. Well, that's one way of looking at it. But we know training is not one-dimensional. We needed to talk about, here's what the research is, and here's what it looks like in practice. So we couldn't just have the training without really ensuring that our curriculum supported that. So we talked about creating a structure so that our curriculum was supportive of the components of structured literacy. First, it had to be comprehensive. I mentioned the high quality instructional materials. We needed to ensure that our high quality instructional materials also supported our standards to make sure the alignment was in place and that it was paced out over the course of the year. We also needed to make sure that our curriculum was systematic. When you're looking at phonics instruction from past years, in some cases it might have been a little more happenstance, not in the structure that we would have liked, with the guidance more of the anthology. We really needed to look at a scope and sequence that progressed from the simple to the complex. We have been talking about explicit instruction for a long time, but we needed to ensure that that gradual release of responsibility happened across all components of our curriculum documents, and that this instruction was intensive. It needed to be instruction that was quick-paced. It needed to ensure that we're looking at all modalities in true support of that teacher and student interaction. Now, to say that we're going to make this shift meant nothing without having our teachers, our real practitioners, out trying it and making it work. And so what we found is our teachers sat back and they're saying, okay, we trust, we're listening to you, elementary reading office. You're making us do a shift that changing my whole way of thinking of what I thought I knew was good to not just thinking about a portion of our students, but thinking about what it means for every single child. The pandemic brought out a lot of what needed to happen in instruction. It also gave us an opportunity to be innovative in ways that we've never been before. And so that meant that we were bringing professional development to our teachers and looking at providing resources to them that were hands-on, that provided training aspects that teachers can always refer back to, but also allowed us to look at where the needs were and how we can further support teachers with that. That doesn't just mean instructional materials, it also means building assessment literacy. Because as I mentioned before, we used a screener that we hadn't used before. Teachers had to understand, what does this data mean? How do I use this? And then helping our parents understand, what does this report mean? And what is that going to mean for our future instruction? So when we talk about these things, it is a shift is happening across our district. There is a great deal of positive energy around this work. I can never be so very proud of everything that is happening. But one of the things that we have said and made clear is we're in a marathon. This, when we talk about racing and trying to, we're in for the long haul. This is not something that's going to change overnight, but the structures that we're putting in place now will truly make a difference for all of our students as we're building our strong instructional framework, looking at the true focus as to what Tier 1 instruction is supposed to be, instead of focusing on the interventions that we'll put in place later. The quote that we like to share as we talk about this work, and I know all of our district leaders, all of our teachers have seen this in a lot of our trainings, is this quote by Robin Sharma: all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. And we've had a lot of that messiness, but I am so waiting for all the gorgeousness that is going to come at the end when we look at the increases. We're already seeing some increases in student achievement and the shifts that are happening, and the parents are commenting on the growth that they're seeing in their children. But I am looking so forward to all the growth that we're going to make.